Hi everyone, welcome to my podcast. This is episode, I'm still getting adjusted. This is episode 37 and I am calling this one Quality Time with Yarn, Not So Much with Horses. Sorry, I need to fiddle a little bit because, oh well. So, what am I going to talk about? So typically my podcast is about my knitting projects, my horsemanship journey, and gardening. So I've been doing a lot of that lately too. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Corrina and I live in the Pacific Northwest with my partner and our two kitties, one of which tried to make an appearance. We'll see if he makes another one. And then my two horses who are Mustangs that I adopted from the Bureau of Land Management Wild Horse Adoption Program. And I will put that in the show notes, which I think is called a description box now. If you're a returning listener or viewer, thanks for returning. I really appreciate it, and welcome back. A very warm, heartfelt welcome to you and everyone who likes to listen to my stories. Where shall we start? The reason why this is called Quality Time with Yarn and Not So Much with the Horses is for two reasons. I think it was after I recorded last time, which was mid-August. I decided I was just going to spend a lot of time going through my current projects and figuring out whether I wanted to rip them out, what I was going to do with my yarn stash, and you know, how I was going to proceed. So I actually spent like 4 hours with my yarn and I made a spreadsheet. Isn't that funny? That's just really nerdy. But anyway, that was just silly enough that I kind of had to giggle about it. So there have, and I can't remember if I talked about this, but the Westland sweater using Berroco yarn, Arno, that's in a timeout status. I like the yarn, not so sure about the pattern. It's a stranded colorwork yoke, but the neckline is really kind of sloppy and I don't like that. I should probably talk about what I'm wearing. This is just a raglan sweater that I made with a self-striping yarn. I want to say it's a Lion brand yarn, so it's like 80% acrylic and 20% wool. I have my computer on my lap, so let me set that down so you can see it. It's kind of cropped. I only had one skein of this, so it's a little bit cropped, 3/4 length sleeves. So I made the mistake of the pattern itself, and it was, I think I just used the raglan sweater formula from knittingfool.com. So the mistake I made was that when I did the 3/4 length sleeves, I just did the cuff at the wrist size, so it's a little bit snug, but I have kind of skinny arms, so it works fine for me. So let me get my computer back in my lap because it has my notes on it. So anyway, the Westland sweater with the Arno yarn, which is a DK weight, is in timeout status. So I am pondering what to do with that. Kind of thinking of maybe doing a cardigan using a different pattern. I have some, so the main color of the yarn is black, and then I have two contrast colors. One's kind of a rose, a dusty rose, and the other is kind of an emerald green, which I think would be very pretty in a stranded color work, or maybe an intarsia. I have to think about that. So more on that later. What else? Oh, I do have a finished object. So the Stephen West Surprise Sockalong. These are, I think this was the Contrast Blast sock, so lots of different things going on, including cable, this kind of slip stitch pattern, a garter brick pattern, kind of this angle here. The heel is a heel flap and gusset that has a stripe pattern that also has some cabling along the side, and then the bottom is just striped. The yarn I used was Knit Pick Stroll in Dove Heather in the main color, and then the contrast color is a hand-dyed yarn by Ray Whiting, and I have that link in my show notes. I don't remember, I don't think I have the label, but the colorway was a number. So anyway, if you order from him, you are going to get a custom color. So yeah, I've worn these. I typically don't block my socks. I mean, I don't care. They go in the washing machine because it's superwash yarn. So yeah, those are them. These are just really cool socks. Looking forward to wearing these when the weather cools down a little bit. It's a little warm to be wearing this sweater. It's kind of a 3-season sweater. It's not quite 3 seasons yet, and the sun is shining in here. So, but I'm not going to take it off because I have a tank top underneath, and well, that just doesn't seem quite right. What else? Oh, I have a half-finished object. I haven't talked about these in a while. So these are the half-stranded socks by Anna Zilboorg. So I got the one sock finished. These are toe up. The gold color yarn is a Berroco. It is 100% wool. I haven't sewn in the ends yet. So these are a little bit big for me, but I'm hoping if I put them in the washing machine, the gold wool is not non-superwash, so hopefully it'll shrink a little bit maybe. So it's almost kind of like a slipper. I don't do toe-up socks very often. Oh, here, let me show you this. So it starts here with this kind of, I don't know how to, it's a toe band. And then you do this toe band first, and then you start picking up stitches from the toe and knitting across the front and the back. The bottom is plain. The bottom is a Wisconsin wool that I bought from Utopia last summer in Berroco. Utopia spelling E-W-E, Topia. So yeah, they're a little weird shape, so I don't know. I've started the toe band of the second one, and that's as far as I've gotten. I love this pattern. So stranded color work. Pardon my unsewn in ends, but I carry my floats pretty regularly, which is going to give it a little bit snugger fit. I may need to redo the ribbing because it's not quite, it's a little bit sloppy, so I may need to redo that. That pattern is in this book, Sock Knitting Masterclass by Ann Budd. Lots of sock patterns in here. I've knit a few, like the almondine and the asymmetrical cables. I've made those quite a while ago. I have a lot of self-striping yarn from, here's some other socks that are kind of cool. Self-striping yarn from Freckled Whimsy that I think might go nicely with some of those patterns. So that is that. I am still working on, getting closer, on the Rocket Tee by Tanis Lavallee. So the pattern calls for stripes. Instead, I copied my friend and held mohair and fingering together instead of striping it, and then did a purl row to make the stripes. So getting close, have I would say 5 or 6 more inches left on this. So I did finish one, but I didn't care for the striping so much. This is what it looks like. Here's a better shot. Here's what it looks like. And I ripped it out because I actually needed the yarn for the one I'm working on. So it's just kind of interesting comparison, what it looks like in stripes versus what it looks like with the yarn held double. And this is a little bit weightier, of course, with the mohair held double. So hope to finish that. I suspect I won't finish it before it cools down, but you know, good layering piece. Let me see here. I also, sorry, my stuff's out of my reach. I am working on the Corran cardigan by the Creabea, and that one got reincarnated. I actually started it, and then I saw a pretty hefty mistake in the beginning, so I decided to rip it out. I'm using a cotton yarn, which it's going to be kind of a lot drapier, I suppose, than what Rebecca Clow's is, but it's this cool, it's bottom up, and it's this cool lace pattern, and I just am thinking of this as kind of a summer cardigan. You might recognize this yarn from a previous episode where I did a test knit for Seedling stitch. It was a tank top, a vine tank top, which is a really cool pattern. My gauge was way off, and my finished object ended up being way too big, so I decided to rip it out, and I will do that vine top, tank top again in a different yarn. I think I've got a pink yarn that I can use that I think will be better. So so yeah, this one's been reincarnated. I'm a lot happier with it. It's paid for pattern, but it's a 4-row repeat lace pattern that that's kind of fun. What else? I've got two more. Oh, this is something I just cast on the other day. This is the Bakery Bears September Stripe Along, and this is Freckled Whimsy yarn. So this is their K. Jones lattice pattern, top down. Butterfly heel. I don't like it as much as I like the heel flap and gusset, because I mean, for one thing, the heel's not quite as sturdy. But I did this in the matter. I mean, I cast on one day and did the rest of the ribbing, and then the pattern and the heel turn in like 2 more days. So again, quality time with the yarn. So it's Freckled Whimsy Serendipity. Here is the label. This is Fancy Flyer, which is Hedwig. So where is the label? Yeah, I really like this color combination, and this pattern is meant to be a striped pattern, but I just wanted to do it self-striping, so this is what it looks like. It's paid for pattern. So I really like K. Jones patterns. Like I said, I like her heel flap and gusset better, but so I will, keep that in mind for future. And I think the lattice section turned out okay. So, and part of it is just, the striping and the pattern just kind of helps keep me amused as I knit socks. I've been kind of on a sock obsession. And then my final work in progress is the Misurina, which I think I talked about last time, but I didn't show my progress. So this is a pattern by Caitlin Hunter. It is a color work pattern, and top down. Has cable and color work. And I am losing some stitches, so let me get those on there. I think these are size 4 needles, and I'm motivated to finish this because I have a future cast on in mind that I want to use these needles for. So, yeah, this is, okay, so there's cables, so there's lace and cables and color work, and I'm still obviously on the yoke. So this is Brooklyn tweed yarn that I'm using. They're overtones, colorways. One is, I think, Goldfinch, and the other one is Hollyhock. So, yeah, American Columbia wool. yeah, this is Goldfinch is the gold color. And again, Hollyhock. So I think, yeah. So I have a lot of projects going on, which, you know, when you work full time and you have other responsibilities such as horses and you like to garden and stuff like that, it's kind of hard to make a lot of progress. But then all of a sudden everything's done. It's kind of amazing how it works like that. Oops, needle sticking out. As long as we don't jab anyone. Okay, so those are my finished objects and my works in progress. A future cast on is I'm going to, I just printed the introduction, is the Stephen West Geo Gradients shawl. Here is the introduction part of the pattern. It takes 4 skeins. It's supposed to be kind of a fade. It's 4 skeins of fingering yarn. So here's some example colors that he has. I am not buying yarn because I spent 4 hours of quality time with my yarn and trying to make sure I had projects for them. I just went into my stash. Here's some other kind of pretty colors that he has in mind. So I just went into my stash and picked some yarn. I believe this is the one where I need that size 4. I may end up buying more needles because who doesn't need more knitting needles? Choosing yarn, 4 colors of fingering, weight yarn, 100 grams. So it's described as color A is the lightest color, color B a bit darker than A, C is a bit darker than B but lighter than D, and D is the darkest color. So I'll show you kind of what I have in mind. Needles, yeah, a US 4. So I'll either have to look in my needle. So here's are my 4 yarns. Okay, so this is what I have in mind. Kind of thinking this light blue might be color A. This might be the lightest color. Let me think about this. No. It might be the blue. I kind of want this green, this one here to go with the green because there's green in there. So that is kind of what I have in mind. But that green looks like it's the darkest. So I don't know, I'm gonna have to fiddle with this. But like I said, I wasn't gonna buy more yarn, so and I happen to have this in my stash. So that is going to be a shawl. These are some of my favorite colors. This is Knit Pick Stroll. This is Angelic, 100% merino. This is also Angelic, 100% merino. And then this was Lolo Did It. I've never knit with this yarn before. This was given to me by Aunt Gail, who how do I explain this? So the sister of a friend was destashing due to health reasons. And Gail went and picked out a bunch of yarn for her daughter and for me, because we are all in for herself. And so I got some of this gorgeous, and I have several other skeins of hedgehog fibers, which I've never knit with, but of course I've heard of. And then this is Lolo Did It. So this is, what is this? 80% superwash, 10%, 12%, wait, 10% cashmere and 10% nylon. So yeah, really lovely soft yarns. So that's what I'm going to make the shawl out of. So I just kind of need to figure out what the scheme maybe is as the clues come out, and see what I'm motivated to do. So that's what I have going on. Oh, I wanted to tell you about my spreadsheet, but I have to, I didn't pull that up, so sorry about that. Not prepared. tell you how many projects I have on it. Okay, Excel. Knitting plan, isn't that clever? So I have a spreadsheet for my gardening plan and my knitting plan. So I'll talk about gardening here too, because there was a big transition. It looks like I have 35 projects on here. I know. So that is why I do not need to buy more yarn. I have plenty of yarn. I have patterns printed, and yeah. I also have, if you know, the self-striping, the September stripe-alongs going along so swimmingly right now, I may do another one. The All Is Calm pattern by Kay Jones for September stripe-along also. What else do I want to talk about right now? I'm looking at my notes. So gardening. I spent a lot of time transitioning from summer garden to fall garden. And I'll show pictures at the end of this video where we have a kind of a big raised bed that had a whole bunch of strawberries in it. Well, those strawberries did not produce, so I decided to, and they're, you know, like 4 or 5 years old, and strawberries have a lifespan. So I decided to rip all of those out, and then, so in their place I transplanted kale and beets and lettuces and fall potatoes, stuff like that. So yeah, that whole bed is getting pretty full. So, and I have started spinach and things like that. So other fall plants. Not quite sure where I'm going to put those, because those are going to need to go somewhere, and my summer garden's not done yet. So I'm still getting zucchini. Eggplant is fruiting. Tomatoes are still ripening. Yeah, I've got some summer squash, the scalloped edged summer squash. There's an awful lot of male plants or male flowers on that plant, so I don't know how many fruit I'm going to get, but it looks like there is one forming. Broccoli, Brussels sprouts, all of that stuff needs to go somewhere, but the summer garden kind of needs to be done before I can do that transplanting. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, I have a couple mounds here and there, one out by the barn. It's an old manure pile. I have a Hugelkultur, which is a German style garden, and I linked a video about what that is in my show notes. So that is basically a debris pile, usually like brush and logs and wood that's piled up, and then you put soil on top of that and plant on top of that. That worked really well. I did not water it all summer, and I got corn and beans and the zucchini out of that. I'm thinking I might plant garlic in it this fall, so we'll see how that goes. So yeah, the garden's going really well. The horses, I did do some work. I haven't ridden Odin at all since we came back from Maine and New Hampshire. And then my sister was here just this last week. She came out to visit, spent a lot of time with our dad, who is 80, and she and her youngest son just left this morning. So they are driving back to Wisconsin, and they are hoping to stop in Montana tonight. So they got a pretty good start this morning, and yeah, it's awfully quiet here without them, so it was really great having them here. And we had a good, we had a crab feed, so we got some Dungeness crab, and it was just a really nice day that we had the crab boil outside, and set up a table outside where we could all sit, and also had fish for the non-crab eaters, because Frank doesn't like crab, and my dad's wife Nancy doesn't like crab either. So, well, and Frank doesn't like fish, so I think he had some sort of a. My sister made this really good Romanesco, which is like a broccoli cauliflower cross vegetable dish, kind of in a light Alfredo sauce, so he had a little bit of that. But we gave him ice cream, so he's certainly not going to starve. Yeah, I think that's all I have to talk about. Like I said, the horses have been on vacation. I haven't ridden Odin at all. I need to kind of get going on that again. The weather is definitely turning towards fall. We've had some rain. That's been really nice. The creek still isn't flowing yet. We haven't had that much rain, and we have had some days where it's been in the mid-70s, so that has been awesome. I think that's where I'm going to end it. This is going to be a short video, so hope you enjoy, and happy knitting. All right, see you next time.